Hello world, this is Mizper from MMOBuff.TV. I am lucky enough today to be joined by the Guild Wars 2 team. We have three lovely individuals here to speak to you all. Perhaps we can start with a few introductions.
Hey, I'm Matt Wuerffel. I'm one of the game designers.
I'm Isaiah Cartwright. I'm the lead game designer.
I am Daniel Docui, studio art director.
And we have two topics we'd really like to explore today. The first topic is to look at the development of PvE over the last year with yourselves. A lot has happened, and from the point of the game's launch to now, there's a number of players that perhaps haven't experienced all of the ongoing development. Perhaps we could start by typifying the thought process that has gone from launch to today.
I think there's been a couple big things that we've been working on over this last year. The first one being making it so that we could develop content at a very rapid pace. We really wanted to get to the point where we would be able to release fairly chunk of good content every 2 weeks. And this was a lot of effort. It was not an easy thing to do, and we kind of restructured the company in order to do it, broke us ourselves all up into lots of little teams, added lots of processes and systems for us to be able to kind of consistently get everything ready to go, and then slowly move towards a 2-week cadence. And now we've been a couple months into the 2-week cadence, and it's feeling pretty good. It allows us to deliver new stuff and new content to the players at a very rapid rate that people really haven't seen before. And so that's been really exciting, and that really allows us to do a couple different things. One, we can kind of tell almost an episodic style story where we can allow players to kind of tune in and experience what's going on and see the world around them changing in different ways. And that's been really exciting to kind of deliver a new type of ongoing experience for someone in the game. And it also became really easy for us to be able to deliver new features to the game, because now that there's this periodic release, we can work on a feature for a long period of time and then have it slotted into a release. And if it needs a little bit more polish, or if it's not yet ready, we can move it up or down or release whatever we need to do. And so this really gave us a lot of opportunity to add a lot of features, and we've done a lot of different features over the year. We've added a new kind of infinite dungeon style we call the fractals. We've made improvements to our achievement system. We've done all sorts of changes to the game, to all types of different features. And so it's really given us a really good tool for us to add to the game and bring new things to players and things that they would really enjoy.
I may well wish to come back to fractals in just a moment, but
Sure.
before we go there, the ability to have a 2-week cadence for releases is really quite phenomenal. And to do so without, say, the backing of a subscription model has really opened eyeballs around the place. What have you had to do in terms of tools and some real core understanding of processes to allow that to happen and to continue to happen?
Sure. I think some of the basic tools that we're always working on is better ways to communicate between all the teams, whether it is to communicate new lessons that we've learned, or what the status of everything going on. That was a really important tool for us to be able to succeed at that, and as well as us getting kind of a really tight schedule in place for us to be able to kind of parallel work. Some of the teams take up to about 4 months before they're released, so there's a lot of different gates and deadlines along the way to make sure, okay, this particular piece of content's ready to go, it passes our quality bar, check on performance, check on are all the assets in there, all that kind of thing. And so there's always these kind of gates that we move along as we're going to make sure all the pieces are there.
You mentioned 4 months as a time frame.
Sure.
Is that a typical lead time for introducing a piece of content?
We've kind of gotten to that cadence. It's been shorter previous as we've gotten up to it, but we're at the point where each of the 2-week cadence for the Living World teams, they have about a 4-month lead time. We do a little bit of pre-production kind of at a high level, about a year long of thinking about what's going to come, kind of just get a really high level about where there's going to be, where the arcs, and then we dig down to the details. And then you kind of hand those over to the team and say, all right, here's kind of the high level goals. And then the team spends 4 months designing it out, getting everything ready, figuring out what's going to go, talking with art, talking with marketing, getting all the pieces really in place, and then implementing it and polishing it, and then getting it ready for ship. And so, yeah, that's the place we're at currently.
So you have the tools, the mechanisms, and the process, and we have the living world. For someone that comes along now, approaching your first year anniversary, so happy birthday, by the way.
Thanks.
How are they going to find the world, say, compared to the world they may have left 8 or 12 weeks into the start of your journey?
We really think there'll be a lot that's changed. I mean, I can let Wuerffel here talk a bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, so we've had the chance to revisit a lot of systems and rewards throughout the game, and one of the things we kept in mind was that we wanted all of that to be retroactive. So anytime that we kind of updated a new reward system, or for instance, when we updated achievements and added a reward structure on top of it, we said, you know what, this is a good chance for players who have been in the game previously to come in, and they still get rewarded for everything that they did, and they can hop right in and join in with other people. We've also focused a lot on trying to figure out exactly how much permanent content we need to add and how much cyclical content we need to add with the living world, so that it's not the case that you would come back to the game and you would it would be unrecognizable, or you would have so many options of what to do that you wouldn't know what to do. And so some of the things that we do in Living World are cyclical. The holiday festivals are that way, where it's something that you can kind of expect. You know, Halloween is coming up, and you know there's going to be a Halloween release, and kind of know what to expect there. And we'll get a new twist on it this year, but some things that were popular before will come back. And then at any given point, you can also kind of just jump into the current story arc, catch up a little bit on what was going on, and play some of that new content, and engage with that over the course of 2 weeks. And then the next 2 weeks you'll see another episode coming in where it's, okay, now what's up? What are these characters that I may have seen in Personal Story, or I may have seen in previous Living World releases? Check in with them, see what's going on. So there's a lot of new things in the game, but there's also a lot of updates to existing content, content that we thought, this wasn't quite up to our vision of what we initially wanted it to be. And so we'll go back with Living World teams and we'll look at things like dungeons or a boss in a game, and say, as part of this release, let's revamp this. Let's take another look at the rewards. Let's take another look at the difficulty of it, and make sure that it's all up to the initial bar that we wanted to kind of set with all the content that we deliver.
We mentioned difficulty. We're reaching the phase now where there are more and more veteran players in the game. They've got a wider range of experiences and skill sets to draw upon. How does that challenge you in terms of tuning difficulty to also keep things accessible to new entrants?
Yeah, so it's definitely something that we talk about a lot, and we have to think about a lot, particularly when we're talking about open world content. It's something where we very much want to encourage players to be in the open world and working together, and we're starting to do some initial exploration on what really difficult content in the open world might look like in our game. So it's something to stay tuned for. But we've also, fractals, for instance, are a system that we put into place that is a scaling dungeon. Basically, the more that you play it, the more that you succeed at it, the more difficult it becomes and the more rewarding it becomes. And so that's kind of an indication of when we do add new systems to the game, we definitely want to design them with and the ability for players to continue playing them even as they become more and more skilled. So we think about, what is this system going to look like a year from now or 2 years from now? Is it going to break down at some point? Are we going to have to build on it again? And that kind of goes into the high-level planning of how all of these pieces interact.
There's obviously a lot of continuous iteration going on all of the time here. And I'd like to touch briefly on perhaps the thoughts going forwards, particularly around the anniversary. Is there anything you'd like to share, perhaps even surprise people with regards to perhaps new content?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that people can really look forward to going forward is, a lot of the feedback we've been getting is on how much persistence is in the living world. And, we're really looking at trying to improve that and add more impact in all the different things that players do. So I think, this last kind of August release that we had, where there's all these invasions going on. Those are going to be around for a little while, and you're going to have to kind of defeat and continue to nullify them. And we will continue to add more impactful, large kind of things that are coming into the game, where players can really see a change in the world from their actions, as well as revisiting some old content and trying to make some permanence. Those are kind of some of the high-level beats that we're looking to hit in the future.
We talk about impact, and one of the areas of the game that really has the most impact, certainly to myself as a player, is the art style that you have and the way that helps to actually tell the story. Of course, speaking to your good self, you have a huge background and a wide variety of games with very, very different art styles. How do you make sure that perhaps your previous portfolio doesn't tend to bleed its style from one game to the next game to the next game? And how do you keep such distinct visual identities?
I am a big believer in style sort of happening naturally and kind of organically as the result of finding the best means and elements of visual vocabulary that would fit a particular type of gameplay or genre, or it is a means to an end. It should never be at the center of the creative effort. I never think in terms of, well, we're starting a new game. I feel pressured to invent a new art style. It is important that for me to understand what the game is about, what the audience, what the target audience is, understand the strengths and the weaknesses of the team I have to work with, and many more other criteria, and have all these, considering all these, kind of naturally converge towards what users, consumers perceive as the art style. But it's not something that's fabricated or invented overnight, but rather the result of a long process of fusing multiple influences and considering multiple angles that all need to be satisfied.
You spoke earlier of artwork being a means to an end. It actually has to have a functional purpose. Does that go back to your industrial design roots?
I think my background has indeed contributed a great deal to shaping my thinking and my creative processes. Also keep in mind that I have been born and raised and educated in a third world country, and where definitely we were at all times kind of confronted with with a kind of a stringent shortage of resources, which forced us to function in a very efficient way. So that was a big part of our education as industrial designers, was being taught to make the most out of the limited resources we had to work with. So to this day, I think that's an important lesson that I try to carry through everything I do. And even when resources are plentiful, and I still refuse to take them for granted and be wasteful in my use of resources.
Acting as a game art director is quite a family affair, I believe. Does perhaps the influence of yourself and your son, do they intermingle? Do you influence each other? Or are they entirely separate endeavours?
it's. I'm glad you bring that up. Not a day goes by without us kind of checking with each other and bouncing off ideas and impressions and consulting each other. Even today, we had actually 2 rounds of of interaction, kind of looking mutually looking for advice and support. So it is definitely, I dare say, probably a first in the industry, where father and son both working as art directors for 2 different platforms, 2 different companies, 2 different products. Yet trying not to take competitive or adverse positions, but rather collaborative perspectives, and help each other, and both grow from it.
So in Guild Wars 2, you're working to continually develop a impactful, visceral, living world. And there's more and more evidence of that emerging all the time. Yet ultimately, we're all gamers. We're all here to have fun, to interact, to be social, and sometimes just to do nasty things to your enemy. That all speaks to fun. So the question to each of you to close is, perhaps you could share the most fun moment you've ever spent in Guild Wars 2.
Oh my goodness, what would be the most fun moment? I don't know. I totally agree with you that in order to put out a fun product, you have to have fun developing it. And I'm a big believer that we should keep reminding ourselves that ultimately we are entertainers, and we should not take ourselves too seriously. We should realize that we are not really, curing cancer or building the next Gothic cathedral. We need to be more humble about it. And in order to, I kind of take it upon myself, within the company, to occasionally take the position as sort of the class clown, even in corporate meetings, and take controversial positions, or throw out a joke when people least expect it, just in order to loosen everybody up and remind us that fun is an absolutely essential ingredient. But as far as isolating one particular moment over another, I'd be hard-pressed to do that.
Clearly, my answer is also what Daniel said.
I do believe that may be defined as cheating.
So one of the things that's really been fun for me, and this isn't an isolated moment either, but a sequence of moments, and it's interacting with players in our game. We were very intentional in the way that we designed some of the fundamental systems, so that any time that you see another player in the game, it's a positive experience. And in PvP, that means when you see an enemy or an ally. In World v World, when you see your enemies and allies. And in PvE, it means I see another player and I don't think, oh no, I'm not going to be able to finish this, or I was trying to do something and here comes someone else. But instead, oh, I wonder what's going on. Like maybe something's going on, or maybe I can help that person. From the way that loot and experience works, to the ability for all professions to res other players, it's always something that's really special and fun, and it changed the way that I thought about online interactions. I will find myself running around with people that I don't know, and helping them defeat an enemy, resing them when they go down. Oftentimes I'll take on too much and some random person will come up and they'll help me. And having that kind of interaction where I can just go and I can join together with people and find something fun for us to do together cooperatively has been something that's really special, and I think something that was very intentional in the design of the game.
I think one of the things that always is really fun for me is every single time one of these updates come out, we take the whole company and they stop working. And what we do is we go play the game for work, because that's important to us. And it can be really fun to be working really hard towards an update and getting everything ready to go, and then finally getting to take off your dev hat and put on your player hat and run around and go and do things. And I think that's always probably my favorite part about seeing a release. It's a really good celebration of victory, and an exact detail of that is, we did some changes to World v World, added some new progression systems, and so we all got in there as a team and run around, stabbing people in the game. And we had this one moment where we rolled down into a camp, and we all had our ArenaNet tags on, so everyone could tell. And that's really when you get the bullseye on your head, and everyone comes after you. And we kind of took a little camp, and just naturally we run around, because everyone in the company we had like 10 or 15 people all running together, because we just all kind of were checking out this new stuff. And we ended up at this camp, and it ended up being, we took the camp, but we were just about to flip it over, and then a group comes in, and then we kill that group, and then another group comes in, and we kill that group, and then the first one reses, and I don't know, about an hour later of just us grinding through killing these people over and over again, we finally succeed, and like everyone in the office jumps up and like, yay! It was really fun. It was a good feeling of just the players on the other end are got to be having fun, seeing a bunch of devs taking something in this long struggle and then finally victory. And so I think it's really fun to be able to put the player hat on and play the game every 2 weeks, just like everybody else. And it really is a good celebration of not only succeeding at getting the 2-week thing going, but at the particular content that we're releasing as developers.
Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure and indeed fun for myself to sit here and chat with you today. This is Mizpah from MMOBuff.TV, signing off.